And big breaking update coming in. The Enforcement Directorate will be taking Chidambaram into custody. Order has come out on ED's plea to take custody of P. Chidambaram. In fact, the judge said that I've dealt with 2 applications in this order. Our legal correspondent Nalini putting out all of those details for us. Enforcement Directorate to take custody of P. Chidambaram. Enforcement Directorate has been allowed to conduct custodial interrogation of P. Chidambaram in the INX media case. Big breaking development in the INX media case. Now the Enforcement Directorate will be taking Chidambaram into custody. Shravan Sen, our senior news editor, joining us live. Shravan, now the Enforcement Directorate will be interrogating P. Chidambaram.
Well, in fact, Christy, this is what our colleague Nalini Sharma is reporting from inside the court, that ED's plea has been allowed. ED will now take custody of P. Chidambaram. They've allowed custodial interrogation of P. Chidambaram. Also, a caveat that this is not an arrest by ED. That's not allowed as yet. This is what Nalini is reporting from inside. Remember, the Enforcement Directorate for long has been saying custodial interrogation of P. Chidambaram becomes extremely crucial in the INX deal, because they are not only investigating P. Chidambaram's role in the INX deal, but several other cases that have also emerged. They're looking at certain FIPB approvals that were granted in other cases, like the DIGO Scotland case, where we are being told there too there were certain illegal FIPB approvals that were granted, and that is the reason why the Enforcement Directorate has been harping on the custodial interrogation of P. Chidambaram. That's going to be important because, remember, he has already spent time in the custody of the Central Bureau of Investigation, and thereafterwards he was in judicial custody for almost over a few weeks now. And finally, the Enforcement Directorate now taking custody of P. Chidambaram. It's going to be crucial because the Enforcement Directorate had already informed the court that they had got new evidence against the former finance minister with regards to FIPB approvals that were granted in over a dozen cases, where they perhaps believe that the former finance minister, P. Chidambaram, had a role to play. And that is the reason why they were basically pressing upon custodial interrogation of P. Chidambaram.
Absolutely. Shravan, so basically the Enforcement Directorate will be interrogating P. Chidambaram, and the Enforcement Directorate has only been allowed custodial interrogation, which means that they cannot arrest P. Chidambaram. And breaking updates continue coming in, Shravan. Nalini sending us all of those details that the Enforcement Directorate will be interrogating P. Chidambaram in Tihar, and this will happen tomorrow morning. So in that sense, Shravan, what are the options now lined up in front of P. Chidambaram? Like you rightly pointed out, the CBI has already interrogated him. He's been in judicial custody for a few days now, and now the Enforcement Directorate will also quiz him. What are the options that are left in front of him currently?
Well, as far as legal recourse is concerned, P. Chidambaram has already knocked at the doors of the Supreme Court to seek some sort of relief. As far as this particular plea that was filed by the Enforcement Directorate, we're given to understand that has been accepted by the court, which basically paves way for interrogation by the Enforcement Directorate. Also to highlight here that there is no arrest by the Enforcement Directorate, which would essentially mean that P. Chidambaram will not be brought to the Enforcement Directorate, where I'm broadcasting from right now. The questioning would actually take place at Tihar Jail itself, where he is already lodged after the CBI custody essentially ended. And immediately after that, the Enforcement Directorate had filed a plea saying at the right time they are going to seek custody of P. Chidambaram. Important to point out here the difference between the interrogation that is going to happen by the Enforcement Directorate vis-a-vis what we saw in the case of the Central Bureau of Investigation. While the Central Bureau of Investigation has been only looking at one particular case, that's the INX media deal, as far as the Enforcement Directorate is concerned, there are several other FIPB approvals that were granted during his tenure, which has now come under the scanner of the Enforcement Directorate. They're also looking at certain money flow that took place, essentially multiple dummy companies that have been linked directly or indirectly to the Chidambaram family. In fact, Karti Chidambaram has also been called in for questioning in the last few weeks, where he was called by the Enforcement Directorate. He presented himself before the Enforcement Directorate Directorate. It is going to be extremely crucial because here the Enforcement Directorate essentially believes that there are certain companies that have been linked to the former Finance Minister which received the kickbacks that were basically generated by those very companies that benefited from the FIPB approvals that were granted when he was the Finance Minister. All this while, P. Chidambaram has been maintaining that the FIPB approvals that were granted, he did not have a role to play. It was the FIPB board that had basically granted those approvals, and more importantly, all of it was essentially done keeping in mind the FIPB norms. This is something that has been contested by the Enforcement Directorate, where the Enforcement Directorate essentially believes that P. Chidambaram at some point in time did misuse his official position as the Finance Minister, benefiting certain private companies.
Right. In fact, Shravan, the Enforcement Directorate had sought permission to interrogate him currently in court, but on objection raised by Kapil Sibal is when the court has asked for the interrogation to take place tomorrow. But the former Finance Minister will be interrogated by the Enforcement Directorate in Tihar jail tomorrow morning. Thank you, Shravan, for joining us with those details.